And here lounging with me out on the balcony for our final demo of the day, Rod Ferguson from Epic Games. We're going to talk about some Gears of War 3. We're going to talk about some Comic-Con. We're just going to have a good time here. Rod, thank you for joining.
No problem. I'm glad they put the two palest guys at the show outside in the sun. It was an awesome choice.
Right, in the heat of midday.
I know. We'll be purple by the end of it.
We're going to be squinty and hopefully not get too crispy out here. So, Rod, Gears of War 3 is at Comic-Con this year.
It is.
And you guys had like a big old party last night. Talk to us about your presence here and how's it been to be showing off the game here?
Oh, it's been great. Like Comic-Con for us is just so awesome because you do all these press events like E3 and those sorts of things, and it's one kind of audience. But when you get here and you're actually talking directly to the fans, the energy that comes from them, that you take it with you. You bottle it up. You take it with you for the rest of the year for the next one. And this year we had the biggest room we've ever had. We had over 2,000 people sitting there. Yeah. So our panel just kind of blew up. You walk on stage and you hear that crowd, and you show them a video, you show them a feature of the game, and they just blow up. It's just it just totally charges you up.
They're super psyched about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been.
So for those who weren't among the lucky 2,000, what kind of stuff were you highlighting during the panel?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. We were talking about our collaborations with like Ice-T, and his Body Count singles coming out now. Like we took that song he wrote, Gears of War, from Body Count, and we put it into a video trailer for Horde 2.0. We've got we talked about OG Slick, our collaboration with him and the stuff that he's done in terms of put graffiti into the world. And this is like this is his company's shirt. Yeah. So, and just a lot of really cool. And we do a behind the scenes called Crescendo. It's a new video that got released today. It's sort of a making of Gears of War that we showed for the first time in the panel there too. So, and our cast was there. We announced Isaiah Mustafa, the Old Spice guy, is in the game as a voice character.
That's right. A couple of my coworkers got pretty excited about that. He's a big hitter on the office. Yeah.
I can imagine. Shirt on or shirt off? I'm assuming shirt off.
I don't think he wears shirts, does he? They're just there to be, to come off.
Exactly.
Very cool. All right. So you had the panel, and now. Last night we checked the game out during our Tonight on the Spot broadcast, and you were shown, and people were sitting down to play Horde 2.0.
Right.
I muffled that up a little bit earlier in the show. Horde 2.0. You heard it here.
Right.
And so it's different from Horde in that there were a lot of you sort of earn money as you go through each wave, and then purchase defenses and barricades and emplacements.
Yeah.
Like, how was that? You guys infused that in. Like, what kind of experience are you trying to create there?
Well, it was really looking at how people played the game. So we said, okay, we want to make this game a little bit more. We want more variety, more depth, a little persistence in your experience. But we didn't want to make it too complex. And so we said, well, how are people playing it now? And actually, people were already building bases. Like when you go onto Blood Drive, you go in the grenade room, and people are planting shields at the doors and planting grenades at the doors and trying to hold off the enemy. And that really is that sort of defensive tactic is the way people are playing. And we're like, how can we enable that? Like, what can we do to help people create those kinds of bases? And so that's where we came up with fortifications, where you can put down barriers, and you can put in decoys, and you can build turrets, and you can build automated sentries, and all this stuff to help you kind of establish this base to take on the 50 waves. And people wanted boss waves, so now every 10 wave is you can fight berserkers and brumoks and all that kind of stuff in the game.
Yeah, and when they show up in those maps where you're just sort of used to seeing the locusts come at you, they get some big ones, but then this says boss wave, and you're like, okay, how big is this? Oh my god, that thing is huge.
Right, so they pretty well just tear up pretty much every fortification you built up to that point. So now the next 9 waves building again.
Building it back up.
But in variety, like this time, typically in Gears 2 it was 50 waves of a same sort of enemy set. Once you learned like what wave 7 looked like, you knew what wave 17 was going to look like, kind of thing. At least in mixture. But now we have like 5 different buckets of creatures with the lambent and the savage locust and the regular locust, and all those getting mixed together. So every time you sit down to play, it's a different experience.
Yeah, and it was a fun surprise yesterday when I was just sort of gunning down this lurching monstrosity when all of a sudden he sprouted up into the giant stalk enemy.
Yes, the lambent.
Oh, we're doing that now, are we?
Exactly.
I'm going to continue shooting.
The lambent were created to help deal with 4-player co-op. Because now the campaign has 4-player co-op, and when you have like 4-man guns from humans and they're fighting, you need to find something bigger to take them on. And so now we have this thing that can mutate and grow its arms out and its head up. It can shoot over cover. It can shoot multiple people at the same time. The lambent were just created to deal with that 4-player co-op.
When you have 4 times as many or twice as many guns, leverage, you need something that's going to present a bigger challenge.
Absolutely. And that's why the Silverback is something that you saw earlier in the demo that's been playing. Is our mech suit is one of those things too that we said, oh, the lambent are going to take it up a notch. We got to get the human technology to take it up a notch, and we created this exoskeleton suit with the chain guns on it that go around, stomp around, and blow away things.
Now you touched on something earlier that I really like about the sort of Gears of War 3 development process, and that was, you guys are observing how fans are playing Horde, and then sort of adapting to work their strategy into your gameplay to help it inform it and help it expand it. You sort of, when we talked to you about the multiplayer beta, you sort of had that same philosophy. As that, I mean, how do you feel that has that been different for Gears of War 3 as opposed to previous? Have you had more time to do it because you guys are now, you know, coming in September, you've had a little more breathing room?
Yeah, the extension from April to September has been huge from a polish perspective, being able to be a lot more receptive to a lot of those changes, because you have to get to a certain point where you say, okay, now I can actually you're getting feedback on things that you think are quote unquote done, and then you're actually getting, as opposed to in development. You know, it's like when you eat raw cookie dough or whatever, you don't know they're going to be good cookies or not, but now we can actually bake a few and you can eat them and tell me if they're good. You know? It's a terrible metaphor, but anyway.
You can go with it. I mean, I'm getting a little hungry. But, you know.
But no, it's been great to have that time, and I think we're also more mature about how you listen to the community. If you just listen to the forums alone, then you get some great feedback, but you also realize it's a vocal minority, and you have to think about the greater good as well. And so balancing what you're hearing on Twitter with when you play and what you see, what are the perceptions. And we also, with the beta, we got so much data, like we basically tracked every bullet that was fired, and so we can actually see, like, oh, you feel that way, but the data showed, like, people are like, oh, you completely hurt the Gnasher because you made the assault rifles more powerful, and you're like, nope, Gnasher's still the number one gun.
See how many people are getting killed with the Gnasher?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's having that ability to try to find a balanced way of getting it.
And certainly that avid fan base, that, you know, all the people who love to play the game, who, you know, soak up every detail. That's a great source of information for you guys and a great resource. But, you know, Gears of War is a very big franchise that, you know, like, people who aren't even that familiar with games, they know it. And so for people coming to Gears of War 3 who maybe, you know, don't know how you have changed the Gnasher throughout, you know, the process of the multiplayer beta, you guys are also working on making it accessible to folks who, you know, don't know how to roll and jump over cover and all that stuff in the drop of a hat.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we didn't have in the beta, but we have going into ship, is we actually created a separate area for people who haven't really played that much. And so we actually will go back and look at what achievements do you have in Gears 1? What achievements do you have in Gears 2? How much did you play in the beta? And based on that, we'll graduate you out of that area where you, like, can't get in even if you wanted to, or if you haven't done any of those things, then you'll get to play in this area with people like that. And so it's kind of, I refer to it as sort of minnows and sharks. Is that if you're a minnow, you want to play with other minnows, but if you're a shark, we want you out of that pool to go play with the sharks. And then try to make that
worked way better than the cookie dough metaphor.
I know, isn't it? I should have stuck with minnows and sharks earlier too. I'm not good at those. So.
That's all right.
But anyway, so it's that kind of thing. It's the same thing. Like, I asked somebody who didn't play Gears 2, and I said, like, well, why not? And she said, well, you don't have aim assist. Like, I like to play casual games, and when I pull the trigger, I want it to line up on the enemy, and you don't have that. And I'm like, wait, so the only thing stopping you from playing Gears right now is that I don't line up on the enemy when you press the left trigger? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, done. And so, like, in Gears, so in Gears 3 on casual in the campaign, when you pull the trigger, it'll line up on the enemies for you. Because it's just about, we feel like Gears 3 is the best version of Gears we've done, and it's the best one to get into. If you haven't played it, like you said, I think it's known and respected, but not everybody plays it.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is say, like, hey, just because you feel like maybe you're a little bit behind on the story, because we've even got previously on Gears of War, cinematic to catch people up.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have Jack Bauer saying it, but it's, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's like, here, let's catch you up real quick in the story, because if you haven't played before, this is the version to get in.
Okay. Now, we've talked about sort of changes you guys have implemented as a result of feedback that, you know, that aim assist one, boom, done. You know, or you know, inserting the sort of the barricades and the purchasable emplacements in Horde 2.0. Have there been stuff through the development process that you guys have had in there and you've been like, yeah, this is cool, we like this, but then feedback and player data has shown, like, that's not really working for you, and you had kind of had to, you know, part with something you liked about it, or these changes that are, I guess, changes that are tougher to make?
Right. Well, one of the great things is we had the ability to play with Gears 2. So what people didn't know really near the end of, you know, the last, when we were in the development, we decided to use Gears 2 as a test bed of balance changes for Gears 3. And so we were actually changing weapon values and things like that in the background to see how people played. And one of the things we wanted to try really early on was to try to make things a lot more lethal. And so we got it to sort of that Call of Duty sort of one bullet, one kill kind of feel to it. And we said, okay, hey, we're going to do this sort of highly lethal mode. Like, what do people think? And it's just, it had its pros and cons, and at the end of the day, it was just something we initially, because you know, you're going to something fresh yourself. You've been in it for 4 to 6 years, and you're like, hey, this is new, this is different. But then once you settled into it, and the people who haven't been, you know, boiling in it for 4 or 5 years, they're like, what the hell is this? And you're like, oh, our bad.
Right.
We were looking for a little change. Apparently, you're not. And you know, so we kind of found this great middle ground, though, where you actually notice the weapons are a little bit more lethal, because it can be frustrating for new players. That's the weirdness about things like Call of Duty, where it's like it's really hard on new players because they die instantly, but it's also really easy to get a kill because it only takes 1 bullet. So if you get that 1 shot off, you could actually succeed, you know. So just trying to find that balance.
Well, it seems like you guys have, you know, obviously it's a labor of love and you've put a lot into it. Your presence here at Comic-Con, you know, as we wrap up, you guys, you had an event last night, but you've got something else coming up that you wanted to mention. Is that
right? Yeah, no, yeah, we're doing tomorrow on Saturday. We're doing the Nerd HQ thing. We're doing a conversation and a signing, and it's a charitable thing. So to get in, it's like $20 to register, and it's very intimate. So it's going to be like there's like 3 or 4 cast members, and Cliff and myself and our Cinemax director Greg Mitchell, and we're going to be there. Like 150 people can get in, and it's all for Operation Smile. We've got our new Gears of War exclusive shirt, which is the anchor with the gear inside, and all that stuff goes to charity, so it's a great cause.
And people can find more information about that?
Oh yeah, just head to our Facebook page. You'll also see our Paul Jr. War Trike that was revealed last night as well, which is awesome.
And hopefully, is that picture you showed me of you on the War Trike?
I think there's one with just the War Trike without me, but
you got to get yourself up there, man. I want to see you striking the pose.
And the episode's the opening night, so the night we come out, the September 19th, the American Chopper is going to have the Gears episodes, and it's actually a 2-parter, so you get to see the whole thing getting built.
All right, so say that date again. When is the game coming out? That's the
September 20th, so midnight launch, hoping for big things. So, but September 20th, exclusively on Xbox 360.
Rod, thank you so much. Before we get drowned out by the drum parade back here, give me a handshake, and thank you for closing out our show here at Comic-Con 2011. Gears of War 3, folks. Look forward to it in just like a month and a half. That's really close.